excited. First, I want to, of course, thank the visionary of this amazing summit, Jeremiah. Man, he's doing such an amazing. Would you guys give it up for him one good time? A virtual clap. He's doing such an amazing job. I met him. I met him through a mutual friend a few months ago, and once we connected, it was like a divine connection. So I'm so grateful to know you, man. You're doing such an amazing job. Also, I want you guys to most definitely be able to stay in touch with me outside of this. So you guys are welcome to follow me on social media at I am Deshaun F. That's IAM DASHON F. To keep in contact. But I want to jump right into it just because I don't have that much time. I want to talk to you about, he asked me to talk about having the faith in the unknown, the faith in the unknown, the faith in the unknown. And as I was praying and kind of pondering on what I should teach on, God gave me a specific title entitled Lost in the Sauce, Lost in the Sauce. If I was in a building and had some people, I would have you repeat, I would say lost in the sauce, but just type it in somewhere, text it to somebody, say, I'm lost in the sauce, lost in the sauce. And some of us may say, okay, what does lost in the sauce mean? What does lost in the sauce mean? For me personally, we're going to kind of break down what does lost in the sauce mean. So first we got to understand what we have to redeem what we thought lost. We have to renew our mind. What did we originally think lost in the sauce? Growing up, we always thought lost in the sauce meant you may have been not comprehending something, or lost in the sauce may mean you're not catching on to something, or as we would say in school, you were green to something. That's what we originally thought lost in the sauce meant. But actually, lost in the sauce really means when you're lost, you're in an unfamiliar place. You're in a place where you don't know your whereabouts. You're in a place what I call an unknown territory. You're in a place where there's no GPS. You're in a place where you're in an unknown. You're in a foreign place. You're in a GPS-less place, and it's God's desire for us to be lost. Yeah, I'm going to test you. I'm going to test your ideology a little bit. It is God's desire for us to be lost, because you got to understand that lost people are risk takers. Lost people are chance takers. Lost people are risky. Lost people are bold people. Lost people are courageous people. Lost people are brave people. It is God's desire for us to be lost. Come on, text somebody, say, I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to be lost. It's okay to be lost. The supernatural takes place in the lost. The miraculous take place in the lost. Matter of fact, I come to let you know that your $1 million is in the lost. Your business plan is in the lost. Your book is in the lost. Your wealth is in the lost. Everything that you desire is not in the familiar. Everything you desire is not in the place of what I would say the comfortable place. And so we just got to understand that it's okay to be lost. And I come to prophetically speak that I want everybody that's on this call to step out in the law. Step out. It's look at your neighbor. Say, oh, I'm going to say, look at your neighbor. Look and put it in the chat and say, go get out, go get lost, go get risky, go get in an unfamiliar place. Because when you get lost, that's when manifestation takes place. So I have a scripture, and I'm going to share my screen, and it's a familiar text in Genesis 12. I'm going to pull it up here. Share my screen. There we go. So Genesis 12, and pretty much it's stating here, we all know Abraham in scripture. We know Abraham. This before his actual name was Abraham, and God was calling Abraham to go to the lost, And the text, this is Genesis 12, I'm reading from the NIV version. It said, the Lord has said to Abram, go. He said, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to a land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. He said, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all of the people on the earth will be blessed through you. So Abraham went as the Lord had told him. You got to remember that your obedience, you have to be, if you're going to be lost, you got to, number one, we learned from this text that you have to be obedient. Somebody say obedient. And obedience is truly important. The text, it says, so Abraham went. He went. In order for us to step out into the miraculous, for us, in order for us to step out into the lost, in order for us to step out into the unknown place, we have to be, number one, obedient. We have to be obedient. We have to be courageous. And so I got 3 B's for us. I'm trying to hurry along because time is ticking. I only got 15 minutes. I got 3 B's for us, and I will get right on up out of here. 3 B's. So if you're going to be lost in the sauce, number one, you have to understand there's a battle. There's a battle in the unknown. Somebody say there's a battle. There's a battle. There's a battle. There's a battle in the unknown. Yeah, there's a battle in the unknown. And also we understand that the battle starts in our mind, The scripture teaches us that we cannot be ignorant of the devices of the enemy. So we got to understand that the enemy is not going to mess with nobody that doesn't have anything going on or about to have it going on. So if the enemy is ticking with you, is he trying to mess with you? That means you got it going on or either about to get it on. So he's going to try to mess with your mind. And there's 3 things that the enemy tactics that the enemy try to do when you're stepping in the unknown. Now, I want you to be very intentional and know these things because I don't want you to go back. So the number one thing that the enemy is going to try to do is he's going to try to drop fear. Somebody say fear. The enemy is going to try to drop fear. And we understand that it's not God's desire for us to have fear. God wants us to have faith. He wants us to have faith. Number 2, the enemy is going to try to drop doubt in your spirit. Doubt. He's going to try to, oh, am I qualified? Should I do this? Should I go back? Is this the place I need to be? Am I qualified to do this? Is anybody going to believe in my book? Is anybody going to believe in my dream? Is anybody going to believe in my vision? Yeah, he's going to try to have you doubt. But we got, like I said, we can't be ignorant to the enemy's devices. We got to, number one, we know that he's going to try to drop fear in our spirit. Number 2, we got to understand he's going to drop doubt in our spirit. And number 3, we got to understand that the enemy is going to try to distract us. Yep. That's the scripture said the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. That's his job. That's his time. He's an adversary. That's what he's called to do. He's called to distract us. He's called to pull us back. He's called to yank us. He called to get us back into the familiar place. So the number one thing we got to understand, my first B is we got to know there's a battle in the unknown, And the battle, number one, starts with our mind. We know the enemy is going to try to do 3 things when we step into the unfamiliar place. The number one thing we know he's going to do, he's going to try to give us fear. Number 2, he's going to try to drop doubt. And number 3, he's going to try to distract us. All right. So after we learned the battle of the unknown, we're going to move into the believing in the unknown. Somebody say believing in the unknown. Believing. And we got to understand if we're going to believe in the unknown, we have to be bold. We have to just believe, not only just believe in ourselves, we got to believe in God. I know, but there's a certain swag with belief. See, believers, there's a certain demeanor with a believer. I know a believer from afar. When you believe in your dream, you got to understand, we know this. If you don't believe in your dream, if you don't believe in your vision, who else will? If you don't believe in it, who else will? And so your believing echoes. I'm going to repeat that again. Your believing echoes. So if you don't believe in it, nobody else going to buy your product. Nobody else going to buy your book. Nobody else going to attend your ministry. Nobody else going to attend your conference. That's one of the main reasons why I'm here and believe in Jeremiah, because his believing echoes. It echoes. It echoes through social media. It echoes when I see him. It echoes through his book. It echoes through, everything he put his hands. His belief echoes. There's a certain demeanor with believers. So you have to Number 2, understand that you have to believe. If nobody else believes in yourself, you gotta believe. Say, I'm a believer. Come on, put it in the chat, text somebody, say, I'm a believer. Yep, you gotta be a believer. So number 1, we understand that there's a battle in the unknown. Number 2, we understand that we have to believe in the unknown. And my last speak, before I get out of here, I have about 2-3 more minutes. We got to understand there's benefits in the unknown. Benefits. There's benefits in the unknown. And we know the benefit. I'll give you an illustration like this. God is throwing your stuff to a spot. God is throwing your stuff to a spot. And it's just your responsibility to get to that spot. In football, they call it a timing route. The quarterback, when he's throwing the ball to the wide receiver is the quarterback is not worrying about where the wide receiver is going. It's the wide receiver's responsibility just to get to that spot. And everything you need in life is in that spot that God is throwing, but it's your responsibility to get there. And the danger of our generation, the danger of not even just our generation, but all generations, is people is not getting to their spot. So I charge you, I commission you, I pray that you will be so courageous, so bold, so just I want you to get to your spot. And the only way that you're going to get to your spot, if you get lost in the sauce. Get lost in the sauce. All right. So I promise you guys, like we said, number one, even know that there's a battle in the unknown. We know that we're not ignorant of the devices of the enemy. He's not going to trick us because we already hip to him. We learned number two, that we got to believe in that unknown. And number three, we know there's plenty of benefits in the unknown. So I just want to say a quick prayer to you guys. Heavenly Father, we come before you, say thank you for this amazing conference. God, I pray that you would give everyone a spiritual awareness, that you allow them to get to their spot. God, we know that everything their need, everything their desires, everything they're believing you for, God, is in that spot, God. So I pray, God, that you allow them to get lost in the sauce so they can get to their spot in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey. All right. Well, I think I'm about at my time. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Deshaun. Thank you, Deshaun. That was impactful. So, lost in the sauce. I hope each of you received that from Mr. Deshaun Forrest. The first one, battle. The second one is the 3 B's: battle, believing, and benefits. There's a battle in the lost in the sauce. The second one, you have to believe in yourself when you're getting lost in the sauce. And there are benefits when you are getting lost in the sauce. And before we move on, I want to present to you a quote by Nelson Mandela. There's no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of. And I think that's a good pin to put after Deshaun's message, because through life, we're constantly trying to discover ourselves. We're constantly trying to figure out what's next. And the essence of that is that you don't have to look for your gift. You came here with the gift. You came here with something. Your responsibility, like Deshaun said, is to get to that spot. You have to discover this gift for who you are, because people, like you said, people are going to echo who you are. People are going to see the value that you bring in this world once they realize that, oh, this person is acting in this way, and they're not just one way this time, but they are consistently like this. This is who they are. And Nelson Mandela said it straight. There's no passion into playing small. Don't play small. Don't settle for nothing that is less than what you are meaningful for, because your life has meaning. You're brought here for something, and your responsibility is to unpack that, is to unfold that. And you have to do that at the end of the day. There's no backing down from that. There's no negotiating with anyone. And I think Deshaun said it best, that get to that spot like the wide receiver, and your responsibility is to do that, to manifest who you are and who you want to become. So I think that's wonderful. Our next speaker is Natalie Jenkins, who will talk about building your passion in business. Natalie Jenkins is a Maryland native dedicated to building brands and the people behind them with joy. Natalie is the co-founder and COO of StrateCamp, a strategy consulting firm that empowers brands to optimize the productivity and potential of teams through resources and support. She's also the founder and CEO of StrateJenk, where she devotes her time and creative energy to influencing positive perceptions and promoting strong brands through digital strategy and strategic communication. A graduate of Drexel University, Natalie has worked alongside large corporations, small businesses, and nonprofits alike. In every position, she maintains a fierce passion to help brands look, feel, and sound their best. When she's not transforming the communication efforts of her clients, she loves visiting new cities across the globe, reading great books, having good laughs, and investing in building her faith and family. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Natalie Jenkins.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you all. A little sad that I have to follow up behind Deshaun because he dropped so many wonderful gems to everyone. So I'm hopeful that I can be just as insightful as he was in his presentation. Jeremiah, do I have the power to share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to share my screen with you all today. If I don't have any issues with technology. Okay, here we go. Awesome. All right, so as Jeremiah mentioned, today I'm going to be speaking to you all about 3 secrets that I've learned along my journey to building your passion in business. As Jeremiah mentioned, I have 2 of my own businesses, one that I'm the co-founder of, and another that I founded on my own, and I'm the CEO of that one and the COO of the other one. So I've learned a few lessons along the way about the importance of having passion in the work that you're doing. So I hope that I can impart some wisdom on everyone who's here today on your own journey. So I have a word up here. Each of the secrets I've learned, I'm going to share 3 things I hope that you guys can hold dear and remember along your own journeys. Does anyone know what Kismet means? Don't go Googling it, just come off of mute and say it out loud. If you know what Kismet means, I've got some prizes. So let me know if anyone can come off of mute. No need to raise your hand. I can't see the chat right now, so Lord, don't put it in the chat. But just come right off of mute and share if anyone knows what Kismet means. All right, take a guess. Okay, I'll give you guys the answer, but I want to give you some prizes. So I want you to interact with me. Feel free to chat with me, go back and forth. I think I heard someone come off of mute.
Is it like something like maybe a little charismatic or in that way? I don't know.
That's a wonderful guess. And
Okay.
Because you participated, you're the winner of the first prize. So I want you to put your Cash App in the chat for me.
Okay.
And after my presentation, I'm going to drop it to you. So now that was a really great guess. You use your context skills to try to get the answer. But really, Kismet means destiny or fate. Kismet is the magic. That's where the magic lies in your journey is Kismet. When you feel like you've had these moments where you're really thriving in your destiny, or this feels like fate. And in my professional journey and business, where I've found Kismet to lie is where I align my skills with the things that I care about. So that is the first thing that I've learned about building my passion in business, is ensuring that I'm always giving my best yes. And I do that when I'm working on things that I'm passionate about and that I actually care about. I spent some time working at a law firm, and I could not stand that job. I went to work every day. I was extremely bored. Okay. The work was easy, so it aligned with my skill set. I could do what I was doing daily in my sleep, but I had no connection to the purpose of the organization. I did not care about serving the rich, fancy lawyers. It did nothing for my heart and soul showing up at that job every day. So I felt horrible. Then after I left that job, I spent some time thinking about what I really cared about. One of the areas of my passions is in supporting people who are incarcerated and their family members. I said, I really want to do something related to that. Didn't think I would find a job in it, but I said, I want to do something related to that. So I started Googling organizations in Philadelphia. I come across an organization called the Pennsylvania Prison Society. I emailed them and said, do you guys need help? I want to volunteer. This is when I was in college. So I volunteered. They brought me in as an intern, actually. They said, we don't have any volunteer opportunities that are a fit. but we have an internship opening. I joined them as an unpaid intern. And at the end of my internship, I was offered a job with the organization right out of college. That was my kismet moment. I aligned my skills. I was doing communications for this organization that had a mission that I felt so connected to. When I left college, one of my first professors said, I was trying to decide between working full-time at that law firm or pursuing this career with this nonprofit. I said, I'm not going to get enough money. The law firm pays well, obviously, and this tiny nonprofit doesn't pay that well. I said, I don't know what to do. So I sought the expertise and wisdom of my advisor in college. And he said, you'll always have time to make the money. Do what you're passionate about now while you're young. So y'all, I left. I worked at that nonprofit for a few years. That was like, I felt so full of joy and passion in pursuing my career at that moment. So while you are pursuing what you want to do, remember to always align your skills with things you care about. And that's where this kismet magic lies. That's where the fate and destiny really collides. Okay, the next word I want y'all to remember is chutzpah. Does anyone know what chutzpah means? Come off of mute and take a guess. Don't be shy. The last
does it mean grit or motivation?
Oh, I like that. I don't want to give Jeremiah the prize, y'all, because that's my family.
That's Josh. That's Josh.
Oh, I mean Josh. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really wonderful guess. I guess you can drop your Cash App in the chat, Josh, for taking a stab at it. That's a wonderful guess. The definition of chutzpah is extreme self-confidence or audacity. This is the next secret to building your passion in business. There's a quote I love. It says, God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. That's a quote by Emerson. And it reminds me that on this journey, you need to be bold and you need to be full of life and full of put your best foot forward in everything that you're doing along your journey. And this is so important because I struggled with confidence throughout my career, and it has been to my detriment in some cases. But when you really believe in yourself, when you have no question, when you just put your best foot forward, you just dive out there, you get so much more. Passion takes you places that just your skill can't. Your confidence will allow you into doors and allow you spots at tables that otherwise you may not be sitting at. And the reality is, at many of these tables, it's not that other people are smarter than you. It's not that other people will do a better job at the work than you. Sometimes it's simply that other people spoke up about what they do. Sometimes it's that other people had the confidence and courage to reach out to someone or make meaningful connections and build meaningful relationships that have placed them in the line of those opportunities. So having chutzpah is an important aspect of building your passion in business. This confidence is also important because you need to be able to stand alone and you need to be able to be proud of the work that you're doing if you need to. And that really derives from true confidence in who you are and what has been placed in you and the gifts that you have. So I want to encourage you guys to make bold choices and to shoot every shot. Leave no stone left unturned. The worst thing anyone can say is no. And if someone says no, who cares? Because the alternative is you wouldn't have had access to it anyway. So leave no stone unturned. If there's something you want to do, go for it and go for it with confidence and boldness. And meet people. Don't be afraid to shoot messages to people. Don't be afraid to set up calls to say, hey, I just want to get to know you, meet you. I'm inspired by the work that you're doing. So have chutzpah along the way on your journey. Now, the last thing that I have that I want to share with you guys is not a word, but a mindset that is going to help you with building passion in your business. And that's reframing failure. The fact of the matter is you're going to make a lot of mistakes on your journey, and that's okay. You have to get comfortable with missing the mark sometimes. And it doesn't mean that you are, you ruined your chances, or that you're not going to succeed in your field or your industry. You have to have a mindset that allows you to reframe failure and reposition yourself and reconsider the decisions you make. And the way that I do this is I take every failure and I change it into a question, a how might I? So I'm going to quickly walk you through some exercises very fast, because I know my time is coming up here. Josh, Jeremiah, how many minutes do I have?
You're still good on time.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to walk you guys through how you can reframe failure. This can be in your personal life. This can be in your business. It's really an approach that makes such a big difference. And the exercises I'm sharing with y'all, usually I charge people a lot of money to go through them. So you're getting access to this for free. All right. So I want you to take screenshots of my screen or write them down. If you've got a pen and a piece of paper, I really believe it will benefit you in the long run. So when you are approaching reframing failure, the first thing you want to do in a situation, on a piece of paper, you can draw a sailboat with a sail and an anchor at the bottom, just a clearly divided piece of paper with a boat, a top half and a bottom half. On the top half, set a timer, you give yourself 4 minutes, write down everything in the situation that made you do well. What did I do right in this scenario? What really helped me in this situation? You just time yourself and you brain dump. This is called a sprint. It's an approach used by organizations like Google to make decisions quickly. So you set your timer and you just brain dump. What went really well in this scenario? What was the wind beneath my wings? What was the wind that pushed my sail forward in this situation? Then you do the same thing, but the opposite. You're going to ask, what was really holding me back in this situation? You're going to put those things at the bottom half of your paper. You're going to say, where did I really mess up? What were the things I missed? What was really dragging me back in this scenario, and why did I fail? Think about every single reason connected to the reason that something was pulled back or there was some type of failure. After you do that, you're going to look at everything in the bottom half of your paper, and you're going to write down the ones that were the biggest issues, the ones that really stood out as something that was a problem along the way. So you can only pick about 3 of these. I wouldn't pick 10 things that contributed to the failure. Pick the ones that really contributed the most to holding you back in the scenario. Then this is where the reframing comes in. You're going to take that biggest problem and you're going to reframe it as a how might we question. So for example, let's say for me, one of my failures was that I accidentally, forgot to acknowledge a really important person in a company or whatever. I might reframe this question to say, how might I make myself aware of the VIPs within my organization? This is a very business related example, but it could be the case with anything. You can do this exercise with, your 2021, talk about what held you back in 2021. I procrastinated too much. I might say, how might I defeat procrastination and become more productive? You want to think about it and reframe it as a question. Then you set another timer and you're going to produce solutions for that challenge. So in a few minutes, you're going to spit out as many possible solutions as you can. You just brain dump. The goal in all of these is always quantity over quality. You go back and look for the quality later. So you brain dump all over your paper as many possible solutions for that challenge as you can. Then from there, you're going to map the best solutions onto an effort to impact scale. This is how you prioritize what approaches to take to fix that failure or to fix the root of that failure, to fix the root of the issue. The 4 quadrants here are high impact, low effort. That would be quadrant 1. These are easy to execute and have high impact. Then we have high effort and high impact. These are more challenging to execute, but they also have a lot of impact. Then we have low effort, low impact. They're easy to execute, but they don't really make that much of a difference. And then you've got high effort, low impact. They're difficult to execute and they don't make that much of a difference. This first quadrant, things that seem like they're easy to execute and have great impact, is where you want to live in fixing your failures and reframing your failures and reconsidering your approach to situations like that. And the very last thing you'll do is plan and experiment. That's where you take the solutions that are in the first quadrant that have high impact and low effort, and you're going to say, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do in the future, or this is what I'm going to start doing tomorrow to be able to conquer this challenge. You're going to put the solution down. You're going to create a time frame for yourself, and then you're going to come up with action steps that will allow you to test the solution. You should do this with different things. So if I'm fixing that procrastination issue, I might say, okay, I'm going to try to wake up earlier. Everybody talks about taking cold showers. Those are all different solutions that you would test out and then see what works best and what produces the best fruit along the way. I think I'm at my time. So that's the end of my presentation today. I would love to stay connected with all of you. You can feel free to email me at natalie@stratejenk.com if you ever want to connect. If you have questions about the sprint exercise that I just quickly walked you through, I'm putting my phone number on here. This is my work number. I'm most responsive by email though. And my LinkedIn. I'm not on Instagram personally, but my businesses are. If you'd like to connect with us there, they're at StrateJenk and at StrateCamp. So I'll turn it back over to the wonderful Jeremiah O'Brien.
Thank you again, Natalie. Wow, that was amazing. I'm hoping that everyone gained some insightful information about your secrets of building your passion in business and how you were able to become very, very successful throughout your timing with StrateJenk and StrateCamp. I learned a lot, especially with some of the words that you said. Hop right into it. I was like, well, I don't know what that means, but then you broke it down and I was like, wow, okay. I have to make sure that I align my first with destiny and fate. And then of course, leading with boldness and braveness, with extreme confidence and audacity. So I think that's, essential. And then of course, breaking down the entire quadrants. And I'm recording this, so I'm making sure I'm going back. I'm going to share it on YouTube so others can, see it. That was an amazing presentation, Natalie. And as Deshaun too, that was a great presentation. So guys, we're going to take a 5-minute break. I just want to give people just a time to stretch, dissect all the information that we just did. And we're going to hop back on in about 5 minutes. You can just take a stretch. I know some people are already on pause, but I'm going to allow my speakers to just get a quick second to gather themselves. And then once we come back, I'm going to have my next speaker, Ariel, to speak on overcoming the struggles of building your personal brand. So in the next 5 minutes, please join us. And I look forward to seeing each of you join and continuing the You Got This Summit. All right, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful 5-minute break, got something to drink, maybe snacked on a bagel or something. Uh, but now we are going to have our next speaker, Ariel, Laura. Please, fam, I know I always pronounce your name really, really wrong. I always pronounce your name wrong.
Okay. It's okay. Go. It's Ariel Laura Metayer, but for in English, Ariel Laura Metayer.
Got it. So we're gonna have our next speaker. As a native of Brooklyn, New York, lover of her Peach State, Georgia, with roots in the Caribbean pearl of Haiti, Ariel Laura Metayer is a multi-hyphenate social entrepreneur and investor committed to empowering underserved and marginalized communities through results-driven initiatives, through personal refinement and professional development by way of her faith-driven luxury lifestyle and mentorship brand, the Luminous Lab. Currently, Ariel is living in between the US and Africa as a Fulbright English teaching assistant and US State Department researcher in Côte help me out here.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire, whose research is focused on the liberation of women and children through entrepreneurship and financial literacy. Please give a virtual round of applause to my dear friend as she presents on overcoming the struggles of building your personal brand.
Hey y'all, hey. I don't really see people with their cameras on. So if you could turn your camera on and we can turn this place up, that would be great. Oh, someone turned it on. Another person turned it on. I think there's a few people that should come on. Larry, Brianna, Aurélie, iPad, whoever is an iPad. Oh, hey, Josh, what's up? Okay, the list goes on, but as we continue, feel free to turn your cameras on. Even if you're in your do-rag, don't turn back off. You know, don't be shy. We love all shapes, sizes, and looks. Okay, oh, you see, come back. You see you had another do-rag fam. You see, right there, Carl, come back on. All right. All right, well, anyway, y'all, I am going to present today. I'm so excited, and thank you so much for presenting me, Jeremiah, for even having me here. I am so glad to have met Jeremiah, especially through a mutual friend of ours. And we already discussed this earlier when y'all weren't here, but I think it was such an intentional moment that God orchestrated because we've been so instrumental lately, like in each other's brands and what we're doing and how to really sponsor the work of each other. I think that's what real friendship looks like. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. So please feel free to let me know if you see anything. Okay, awesome, I'm gonna extend this. All right, awesome. So with that amazing introduction, thank you so much. I'm going to continue. I have a quick question. Do y'all see what I see? Like, are our faces blocking the presentation or no? Is that just on my end?
It's just on your end.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let me continue. I am Ariel Laura Metayer, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming struggles of building a brand. So when I heard about this, I was like, man, I remember the days when we used to Google these things, and me and my friends actually did this. I remember I did, like, how do you build a brand? And we look like that emoji right there. We were exhausted. We were hearing all these things about people, like, you know, you see on social media, everyone has advice to offer. And so it's like, which one do you really cling on to? Everyone's selling something. Everyone's thinking that they're an expert. Who do you really lean onto? So I realized the best person to lean on, especially now, is Jeremiah. And he decides to send you a message. You're that person receiving that message. And he's telling you, in spite of your current obstacles, you are bound to overcome. Keep persevering, fam, and make sure you attend the summit. And then there you have it. You just find yourself here and it happens. And you're building your brand. And now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. So I don't really mention this often, but back in, I could say 2019, I worked at Coach, and I was very privileged to have that opportunity, especially as an internship, where I was able to really shadow and work under the wings of Michael B. Jordan. And while there, I was with the marketing department under the vice president there. And they really gave me the accounts to manage while I was at Coach. I was able to shadow with Netflix and Warner Brothers. So these are tools that I learned that I wanted to also not implement in my brand, but also help with other people's brands as well. So these have been proven have proven itself to be effective and should also be able to be reused here for you. So I came up with the DQ plus formula on maximizing the demand for your brand. So if you're taking notes, feel free to screenshot or feel free to even write this down. But the DQ is really definition, distinction, disposition, and the plus is the digital presence, because that's really optional. You're going to have a brand regardless, whether you have a social presence or whether you are an individual. And I think it's really neat that Natalie earlier mentioned, like, here's my page's brand. However, she herself is a brand, although she doesn't have like much of a social media interaction, if I'm assuming, like on your personal information, right? I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not. You could say, oh, okay, I saw you come off mute. But yeah, and I think that it's important. She was like a great example that you don't always need a page. You don't always need something on social media, although it is helpful, especially in the digital age that we are in. It's not necessary. So this is the optional part where we categorize it as plus. So knowing your core. Our first part of having a brand is defining the brand that you have. And in order to define your brand, it's always helpful to know the values that you also have, the fundamental core standings that are innately within you. So here I have a list that says core values list. Circle your top 5. Rather than your top 5, I really would encourage you to insert your top 3 inside the chat. We have authenticity, to contribution, to justice, to trustworthiness. I want you to engage in the chat and put your top 3. And I kind of want to see who really has kind of mutual core values. And I think it's important because if we look at any luxury brand, whether that would be like the LVMH or even a typical brand like McDonald's, everyone has a core value. But even aside from a business type of brand, let's look at our personal brand. What type of values do I have at my core? What do I really have fundamentally that is really unshakable? And when people see me, it's defining, or it's pretty much synonymous to who I am. Number 2 is skills, identifying your expertise. And oftentimes this is not really easy. A lot of people, as I said earlier, harping on the effect of, hey, I'm an expert, and they probably just read one ebook written by someone else. But what is an expert? And I think a great way to identify the expertise that you have looks like looking at your hard skills versus your soft skills. And right here, we see that hard skills are teachable abilities or skill sets that are easy to quantify. And soft skills are alternatively known as people skills or interpersonal skills. And you can also screenshot this page so that you can identify the skills that you have, or even understand, how do I come up with a skill if you don't have one particularly? Maybe it's a trade that you can learn that can become a developed skill. And now for number 3, establishing who you are and how you show up. Character meets personality. Later on in this presentation, we're going to harp a little bit more on the distinction between character versus personality. However, these are character traits that you could also look at for yourself. And this is more of the inward work before you do more of the branding work. So what are the values? What are the foundations? And how could I understand how to form these things to define who I am and who my brand is, or what my brand is rather. Setting your brand apart. So this is wordy, as y'all can see, but I'm going to condense this. So number 1 is vision. Number 2 is personalization. And number 3 is strategy. And these are the components that I believe is necessary in making sure that your brand is a brand of distinction, making sure that people can identify your brand and see what's different between you and someone else who may even have a similar brand as yours. So for number 1 is vision. It's important to always See what your future may be like just by design, by your mind. What kind of life do I see myself living by this time next year? Or what type of place do I see my brand in by this time next year? So as a Christian, I always this verse that's found in Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2-3, and a lot of y'all know it, so I won't say the whole of it, but essentially it's writing the vision down and making it plain, making sure that you elaborate on that vision, and understanding that although it may linger, it will come to pass. But sometimes certain things come to pass and you may not even remember, like, oh, wow, that was something that I envisioned a while ago. So it's always important to be able to refer back to something, to meditate on that something, and to also be able to maximize what it could possibly become. And I think when you actually write something down, you get to really dissect more on why I want this, how will I accomplish this? So part of that is writing it down to the quarterly goals. How could I make my yearly vision board actually be an accomplishment that I see fruitful for the year? Break it down into quarters. We have 4 quarters in a year. I don't know if y'all school did this in primary school, but mine did, where it wasn't just, how do you call it? It was like first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth. And I think a lot of schools don't really do that. It's kind of like semester wise, but it's important to like break it down to ways that is digestible for you. And then next is execution and accountability. You always want to make sure that you have an accountability partner to really sponsor the work that you're doing, to critique it in the way that it's helpful. And then you also want to make sure you have someone to help you with that follow through plan. So execution. I'm going to go a little bit quickly because I know we are on time. So taking a long-term look, what is the lifestyle that you want for yourself? Next is giving permission for yourself to envision. And then after, having a clear destination for where you envision yourself. Sometimes we have a vision of, yeah, you know, maybe I want to see myself being a CEO of a company in the next 5 years. Okay, well, what does that company look like? What does that destination look like in the next 5 years? Let's quantify that. Let's actually elaborate on this. And then after, protect it with the right attitude. It's always important with whatever that you have, to have the right attitude with it. So personalization, what makes you different from the next individual? Singularity, be uniquely you, have a consistent voice, being sure in who you are. And again, this may seem more like inner work, which is true. It is inner work that you need to do, but this also attaches itself to the brand that you have, because people will often identify your brand with who you are. Next is what brings you the most joy. And this will also help to identify how to make this brand. How will I give this brand an identity, but also a spirit or a self, a body of its own. So that would include focus on what matters to you. What are the things pointing back to your core values that matter to you, that will help shape the brand that you have. Next is pinpointing your passions. This would attach itself to the skills that you have, and then understanding, okay, well, how could I mold that into something that could service someone else? Or maybe it's a product that could also assist someone else in their day-to-day lives, bringing a solution to a need. Next would be reflecting on the accomplishments that you've had. I would also take time to list out all the good things that you've done within probably, let's say, the past 3 years that you've been recognized for. What are some notable accomplishments that you've already made? Those things will help you in realizing, okay, maybe these are the things that I should focus on because I'm already good at it. How do I become better and get to my best? Then next would be the strategy. The time and technique you consecrate toward your craft matters. Number one, and I believe some people may have heard this already, but it's so important. And sometimes we get so attached to what we do. We don't want to give that baby, quote unquote, to someone else because we don't know if they'll give them that same TLC, that same tender loving care to the same way that we would. So outsourcing what isn't your expertise. If you are not great at making graphics, there is Fiverr. If you are not great at public speaking, get a team. Like there will always be someone who could help you, who may be better than you in another area, and that will allot you time to really hone in into your own expertise, and that will refine the brand that you have. And this is going to take you exponentially far. I feel like this is what makes a lot of luxury brands become and remain luxury and always in conversation, because there are a multitude of people who are good at other things, or rather not just good, but their best at other things that allows the main person to produce at their best ability. So there's outsourcing your content or whatever that work may be. Next is content batch and organize appointments. So if you have a strategy that you already implement, maybe it's in your Google calendars, maybe it's using Google Drive, maybe there are different things that you do, or maybe if you post every month for your brand, you don't just post day by day, but you have certain things already listed out for the month. Use apps like Planoly. I'm pretty sure there's also Latergram, which is also important to use if you are wanting to build a social media presence. Next would be scrolling for inspo as opposed to aimlessly passing time. Now, I know I am not the only person who has found themselves hours upon hours scrolling on the gram or on Facebook or whatever have you. I don't know if y'all use Facebook, but I do. And so like going down there or like Snapchat, I don't use that. I don't know if it's still in tune, but like the point is you find yourself aimlessly going through social handles and hours have passed and you haven't found much inspiration. You're laughing at someone posting goofy things and you're like, dang, the whole day passed. What have I accomplished? And so in order to prevent yourself from finding yourself in that space, it would be important and of value to you to perhaps jot down, hey, I need to accomplish these things for my brand today, especially as it relates to content or information that I'm providing. Let me look for something that might inspire me, not something that you copy and paste from someone else because that would be plagiarizing, but something that could inspire you. And then next for the strategy to end off for the brand of distinction is be a step ahead and at your own pace. And I know it sounds like very confusing. How am I a step ahead, but then I'm at my own pace? So we're gonna look down at niching down on who your community is and what your community is. And following that is finding and filling the gaps in your niche. Oftentimes we find something and we're like, oh, well, I'm really good at baking. Okay, that's great. And what are the gaps that's in baking? Maybe we need to find an oven that can create like your baked goods in less than 30 minutes or something like that, something that's more effective. So as opposed to just doing something that's already there, reinvent that wheel and own it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And then at the end, educate yourself and community on your main topic. So being conscious of time, I'm not going to read all of these things as I did before, but for the disposition is how you present yourself, from image to relevance to operating in the space of creative genius. And again, you feel free to screenshot these information as well. So with your image, we want to make sure that the first impressions are always number one, whether that's digitally or physically, whatever it is, whatever space that you find yourself in, people will remember the first time that they encountered you. And I think even like Jeremiah, oh, hey, we met mutually through a friend. Like, I remember how that engagement was. Oh yeah, he had a twin. They look alike. They kind of act like each other. Not really. But, you know, there was certain things that you could remember. And next up would be influence takes shape in many forms, not solely social media. I feel like oftentimes we find ourselves clinging on to the followers, like, oh, I have 100,000 something followers, or someone else has, or I have 10 and then someone has 100. Like, man, they must have more influence than I do. But the truth of the matter is the influence is in the community that you build. So make sure you really focus and hone in on that. Engage with the people who are around you and present a good image. Next is being able to articulate your ideas. Now, funny, me and my sis Oleli last night were talking about this because I was like, sis, does brains always beat beauty? And she was like, well, not really, because we sometimes see people with pretty privilege, right? But what will always trump that, which I believe, is beauty will get you in, but brains will keep you there. So make sure that you find ways to educate yourself and fine tune yourself. Moving along with the relevance is diversifying the way that you learn, because you want to be a master in your specialty, but you want to also be able to talk about different things that are relevant. And whether that's in your industry or another, to give yourself that competitive edge, and then also to have longevity in the success that you find yourself in. And then the last part for this is the creative genius. Where are you operating from? I think it's important to always set the atmosphere of your room. What is the environment that you're in? Like literally the physical space that you find yourself in. Be comfortable in that space, wind down in that space, and begin to operate in a place where you are humanizing yourself to relate to other people, to be solution-based, but then also, as we said earlier, reinventing the wheel to make that your own. Be the face that people remember. Hope y'all are taking notes. We're almost done. This is the digital presence. So we already did the D cubed. So this is the plus. So the digital presence is really bringing your brand into the online hemisphere, often a jump that many people take unprepared, which is true. Sometimes people don't have those practical tools or they're not really aware. So making sure that you find certain apps, like we mentioned earlier, there's Planoly, there's apps like Mojo to make your stories. I'm pretty sure there's so many to refine your brand. And number one is making sure that you're marketable, whatever that may look like for your brand. You want to always have one, as we mentioned earlier, that niche, but also that image. Make yourself aesthetically pleasing. You know, it's something that draws people near to your brand and near to you. And when you have those core values and you make it your own, people will want to be a part of what you're doing. Number two, or B, would be consistency. How consistent are you? I know this is something that I find myself tripping up on, whether it's being consistent in responding to text messages or posting. And I think it's important to always have set reminders, whether that's on your phone or using a physical planner. Be sure to be consistent and find yourself accomplishing these things. Therefore, it'll then motivate you to do more. Number three is engagement. Okay, so this is very important because digitally, a lot of people tend to post nice things, right? And they have value, but they do not engage with their audience, especially when it comes to the comments. That is going to tarnish your brand. And Instagram also picks up on that, and it will not really boost the post that you have. So it's very important that when people comment, don't be too bougie to not respond, okay? Like if they say, yeah, girl, you look great, be like, yes, thank you, fire emoji, heart eyes, like do something, you know, and always make sure that you're welcoming. Now, maybe someone might hit you up in the DMs and be like, hey, what you said was really inspiring, and they want to follow up. Make sure you follow up. Don't be too exhausted to not respond. And I'm preaching to myself too, okay? So this is like something I need to apply to. And then lastly, letter D, I put these together. If y'all know the SMART acronym, these were taken from it, the last two. So realistic and timely. This would go back to always being relevant and having that nice image. You know, sometimes you could say something, but it just wasn't the time to say it. I don't know if you remember, well, I'm pretty sure I'll remember during the George Floyd protest, people would start posting certain pictures of themselves looking good and coming out. And some people would be like, why are you posting that when we have a whole like movement happening right now? Did you not realize? So being intentional about when you post something, what you say, how you say, when you operate, and how you operate in specific rooms. So yeah, something amazing will happen when you operate in your destiny. Just to finish up, just reminding you, personality versus character. Right here was something that I found in an article that I wrote that I wanted to, that I read, pardon. And it says character traits are thought to be flexible through effort, and the personality is traditionally regarded as inherited or rigid. However, it is wrongly assumed that character change is feasible and personality is fixed. And just to identify those two and why it's important, identity is more, or pardon me, personality is what or the way one carries themselves. And it can be observed through person's conduct and impressions off of their first impression, like when you meet them, like that's the person's personality. But in order to identify someone's character, that goes back to the core values, their foundation, and that's what a person is like inside. And that can only be identified over time. So you want people to build a relationship with a brand that they can identify over time, but they can still see the personality that you have off rip just by what you post. So let me see, should be done. And yes, so towards the ending, we have me and Jeremiah texting you. Jeremiah's like, fam, I believe in you. You got this, clapping hands. You are made to prosper, hard wink, prosper. Anyone knows where prosper is from? Please comment below or above or in the chat. And then next, I respond ditto. We're here to champion you along the way. Remember, you are the luminous value the world needs. And this is you. What is your response? What will your response be, especially as it relates to the consistency that you have in building the brand? And it's always important to know that there are people around you in your community who may have experienced the same challenges that you had. So from today, moving to the 3rd of February, be sure to message me and I could give you more information on this. For hands-on coaching and strategizing specifically with your brand or with personal development, I am here to assist you. And I have provided a great code for the You Got This Summit. Got this. And then I'll be making sure for your digital goodie bag, I have a Luminous Lab freebie checklist so that you can really see how you could develop yourself personally throughout this year and refine yourself. So as you can see here, I'm so glad to have been with y'all. If you have any questions, we'll have all those times later on during the panel to answer your questions. And I'm so glad to have spoken here. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for having me. See you all in a bit, or chat with you more in a little bit.
Wow, that was amazing. That was amazing. Again, I'm learning a lot today. I'm taking notes. I'm not just sitting here, guys. I got my notebook right here. I'm taking notes on each of my speakers. So I'm making sure I'm soaking in knowledge as much as I'm listening, as much as you're listening, because as leaders, we have to continue to learn from other people as much as we're putting out information. And I think that was amazing that you broke down all the possibilities of just building your personal brand or defining your personal brand, Ariel. And that, man, I'm sure everybody enjoyed it. Everyone's saying, killed it. Such a great insight. Yeah, so I think you have a lot of great people that are going to work with you in the next few days with your sales. So thank you, fam. I enjoyed it. And we're going to jump right back into it. I have the pleasure of introducing another dear friend of mine by the name of Isaiah Swift. Just a little background on Isaiah Swift, guys. When I started to write my book, I reached out to Isaiah. This is the first person I reached out to because I knew he went to Norfolk State. I knew he was an author. I knew he had some successful hits throughout his time at Norfolk State. And I immediately reached out to him and I was like, hey, man, I need your assistance. Can you help me write my book? I really want to write a book. And I was like, yeah, I really want to write a book. And he was like, okay, you want to write a book? Okay. Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, like I'm serious. He's like, all right, bet. We're going to start meeting bi-weekly. We're going to talk and we're just going to get there. And I want to see it for you. And literally over a year, like we built a stronger relationship, but we brought the book to life. Like literally, like this is like my bro. And I'm blessed to present him as our last speaker before we move into the panel session. And bro, like I had to say that because I thank you enough, that Prosper wouldn't be here, of course, because of me, but you're a part of that journey as well, playing a huge part of that. So I'm excited to present you. So Isaiah Swift was born and raised in Norfolk, Virginia, and graduated from Mary High School as an AP scholar with distinction. During his senior year, he was dual enrolled at Tidewater Community College, where he received 6 transferable credits towards his degree. At Murray High School, Isaiah was the branch manager of Commodore Branch, a subsidiary of Charter Way Federal Credit Union, and he was a member of Future Business Leaders of America. He was awarded a full ride academic scholarship to attend Norfolk State University, where he graduated with a business finance degree. In addition, while in his junior year, Isaiah worked as an intern for Fresh Prince, a clothing design company that offers consumers deals for purchasing customized apparel in bulk. His role consisted of promoting the brand and overseeing the details of all orders. During his first year, Isaiah sold nearly $40,000 worth of merchandise. In 2018, Isaiah published a book called Unlock Your Greatness: 8 Ways to Be Successful in High School and Beyond. In the book, he teaches students how they can be better prepared for the real world after they graduate and provides them with valuable insight as to how they can find volunteer, internship, and scholarship opportunities in their community. In his spare time, Isaiah enjoys traveling and spending time with his family. So I have the pleasure of presenting my brother, Isaiah Swift, who's going to talk to you all about the flexibility and future of entrepreneurship. Isaiah, take it away, bro.
Bro, I appreciate that, man. What an introduction. I'm so happy to be here. I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And as Jeremiah said, he is one of my good friends. I'll tell you guys a story because we went to Norfolk State together, and me, Jeremiah, Joshua, and I could not differentiate them two to save my life. I think I was talking to Joshua one day, and we knew chatting it up, whatever. And then 5 minutes later, I looked around because he had left. He was saying he was going somewhere else. I'm like, wait a minute. I just thought I come to find out. I realized that's when I realized, twins on campus. And I had a minute at first, like trying to separate the two, but I have really grown to know Jeremiah, have a huge respect as well for Joshua, two incredible guys, brothers doing some amazing things, and just to see like that family bond and connection, and also you two's unique identity. Prospering, man, all of the speakers were phenomenal. Like every single last one of them, I'm like, man, like it was just amazing. This entire event, you got this summit. So I can talk. So I'm going to put on a PowerPoint to keep me on track. All right. And feel free to, this is just to help me out. But let me know when you guys can see it. I'm going to do the full screen. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. So I just put together this little life out of the 757. That's where I'm from, born and raised in Norfolk, Virginia. And as Jeremiah was saying, I went to Maury. A little bit about my background. I came from a single parent home. Both of my parents were really great. And they just did a really great job, but it was just always me and my mom. And one of the things she would tell me was like, I'm not paying for college. You're going to have to figure it out. And she was dead serious. I'm like, what? You're not paying for college? But the thing that was so special about that was my mom actually, the house that I grew up in was right across the street from Norfolk State. And my mom actually went to Norfolk State, and I didn't know this until later, but like when she got pregnant with me and she was 19, she ended up having to drop out to work and all that good stuff. So it was just crazy how like I ended up going to Norfolk State. Never thought I would make a difference because I was always very reserved and quiet. And when you grow up, and especially in a minority community, and you don't really have a lot of money, sometimes you think that's it. So it's hard to really look beyond like where you currently are. And one of the things that I had to learn how to do was not just pay attention to where I'm at, but also where I'm going. And so like in your mind, the word, I don't know, I haven't shared this with Jeremiah, but I just found this out. The word prosper means simply to move forward, take a step forward. So like a lot of times people associate it with money or materialistic things, but if you just think about that, like I can prosper not just in money, but in health and wisdom and relationships, yada, yada, yada. Prosper is just simply to take a step forward. So I went to Maury. I had a chance to be involved in a lot of different programs there. And I, when I was 17, the summer of my junior year, literally had 3 jobs. I don't know what I was doing. I'm Black, Jamaican, whatever, doing a whole, like 3 jobs, man. But what that did was that built a work ethic in me. One of those jobs was at Chick-fil-A. Come on, Chick-fil-A, you already know, Polynesian sauce, my pleasure. And I was terrible. Like that job taught me so much, but man, I had to learn a lot because I was working in customer service, and they put me in the front, and I had to learn how to interact with people. And that kind of, one of the things that taught me is how to open up out of my shell. And a lot of times in business and entrepreneurship, just in meeting people in general, you need those communication skills, the ability to interact with people from different backgrounds, yada, yada. So I had the work ethic because that's junior year. I had 3 jobs, the summer of my junior year. And then in school, like I was telling you, my mom told me when I was in high school, I wasn't paying for college. She told me that. So I had to kind of hunker down and really figure out how this thing was going to all come together, because I started searching for scholarship money and getting on track and just learning. And that can be a lot and very complex. And so so I don't know if she's up here, but if she can say hi real quick, Jaden Williams, her mom, or what did I do? You guys still see my PowerPoint? Jaden, say hi, wave your hand. Yeah, so her mom was my high school teacher. She was my personal finance teacher in high school. Miss Brown, her name was Miss Bond at the time. she was the one that first introduced me to this scholarship for $125. And guys, when I got that, when I won, it was like a little essay or whatever. A lot of people don't understand is when you're applying for scholarships, you can the applications aren't exactly the same, but some of the processes or the criteria are similar, right? So you can kind of duplicate or replicate your essays. First scholarship was $125. You couldn't tell me nothing because I was like, what? 125? I mean, I thought I was rich, you know? And her mom, after I won, Miss Brown, she pulled me to the side and said, you know, don't stop though. $125, that might cover the cost of a book in college. That's going to help you out later along the line. But she said, keep going. And so that is something that pushed me as well. And I also want to add, like, it's very important to have a voice in your life and all that, but I'll get to that later. Jeremiah, am I good on how much time I have? I'm good. Okay. So got scholarships, they were rolling in. And let me tell you guys this. All right. I wasn't going to say this, but we also have to be open. I think I heard Ariel earlier talk about Fiverr and the resources out there. They can do marketing for you and flyers and so much stuff, that platform. But we have to be sometimes open to working with people and networking with people that don't look like this, because my guidance counselor was a Caucasian lady, but she really stood behind me and pushed me. She pushed me when I was in high school to really succeed and get scholarships. And I wish I had, like, to this day, some of the recommendation letters she used to write me. And I mean, it was just weird because I was always taught, you know, just kind of watch folk, keep your eye on folk and all that. But man, she kind of took me on as like her son. That's how I felt. So I had that love and that support. And that was something that was really influential to me. And so I ended up, to make a long story short, graduating with a full ride academic scholarship to Norfolk State University. Initially, I did not want to go to Norfolk State. And that's what I get. I always tell people, I was acting a little bougie. I did not want to go to Norfolk State. I said, you know, I don't know what it is, but you know what? It's not about we look at the outside of places, but it's always about the inside. That's like one of my mentors told me. Get on the inside of a campus before you make your judgment, not just with colleges, because some of you guys are graduated, but even with like your careers and things like that. Get to know people for yourself in environments and places before just making an assumption that you're not gonna like something because of what somebody else said. When I didn't want to go to Norfolk State, I went to Norfolk State. That ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. Because that when you walked on campus, it was that family feel. You know, like Jeremiah was saying, he became my brother. I grew up an only child, so I didn't have siblings on my dad's side. I have, you know, stepbrothers or whatever, but on my mom, it's just me. So I really, that community and everything, that really having that support was just really like influential, and it helps a lot. Internships, I'm not going to spend, I have like 8 slides. I'm not going to spend a lot on these, but these were some of the internships that I had an opportunity ever since like my senior year in high school with Bank of America, Norfolk Emerging Leaders. That was a program for high school students to work for the city government, Allied Bank, and Fresh Prince. Now I want to tell you about Fresh Prince. So maybe I can go to the next slide. You guys see the next slide? Can y'all see my mismatch jacket and pants? My mom, she said, boy, the jacket and pants don't match. And I ain't, you know, you be waking up 5 o'clock in the morning, you can't see what you putting on. I said, what? That's 2 different types of blue right there. But anyway, what was I saying? So the Fresh Prince, all right, the 40,000 in sales right there. I went to New York my junior year in college, in Norfolk State, my sophomore year. And I was like, you know what? I was looking in Forbes magazine before everything was all digital now. I used to collect Forbes magazines, and I was looking at the top 7 business conferences to go to in the country. This one conference caught my eye. It was called the Next Gen Summit. And I literally had to lie because like people were asking me, I was telling people I was going to New York, but I didn't want to tell people like where I was going, and I was going by myself and going for the first time because I was, I'm trying to figure out what age was I? Was I 17? But anyway, I somehow managed to get a Greyhound, hopped on that bus, went to New York for the first time by myself, got a hotel because I found out some of the other attendees that were going. We met online. We all ended up splitting the room 4 ways. And I learned, and at this conference, I learned about the importance of that you could go to college and do entrepreneurial things at the same time. A lot of times we have business ventures and we think, well, I got to drop out of school to do this. Or if we're working, you know, I got to quit my job to start my business or whatever. But in the beginning, you actually can kind of manage both, right? And so I met up with some people at the conference. I ended up becoming a brand ambassador for a company called Fresh Prince. And basically I would find clients, I would take their t-shirt order and put it online as the middleman. And then Fresh Prince, they were up in New York, they would deliver and ship out everything for me. So guys, as a college student, I was literally running like this side hustle where I was calling every nonprofit you could think of. I used to do, I don't know who here is from Norfolk or the 757. So if you could do me a favor in the chat and let me know so I can, I don't know if I can be able to see or whatever, but I used to do for Granby High School and Norview High School. I don't know if those schools ring a bell. I used to do their senior class shirts. I used to do, now Norfolk State, they could have did a little bit better. I was trying to get the Greek shirts done. And we got a sponsorship with somebody they had, but I was trying to get that money because I know Greek and sororities, they order shirts like crazy and matching jackets. Y'all see them, Deltas, AKAs. But I was able to grow that business and check this out. I was able to grow that business in like a year to almost 40,000 in sales. My goal was to hit 6 figures and I came short, but 40,000 is pretty decent to be 18, 19 at the time. And in my office was literally the library at Norfolk State. In between classes, like I was just running my business from my cell phone, taking orders, talking to clients and all that good stuff. All right. So then, all right, here's how the book came. Can everybody see the slide that says work? And then at the bottom, it says unlock your greatness. You guys can see that? I just want to make it.
We can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had an idea. I said, well, wow, because my goal was to take the t-shirt business to 6 figures, right? And I was like, I really want to write a book about that. So I had an idea because I was going to do a book about something way different. And when I was talking to somebody one day, he gave me an idea. He was like one of my mentors. He said, well, why don't you write a book about something that you already accomplished, which was the full ride scholarship to Norfolk State? Because you could help high school students and middle school students and all that good stuff. So that's where I kind of got the idea about the book for Unlock Your Greatness, 8 steps to be successful. It's actually right here in high school. Now you guys have graduated high school, but I wanna give somebody a copy at the end. I know I have like a couple of minutes left, Jeremiah, and maybe you can, if you know somebody in your family or community. I mentor like guys in high school that they need to have like a resource about college and scholarships and all that. I would love for you to give that to them if you see fit. Yo, let me tell you something. I ordered when Jeremiah's book came out, and I forgot to tell you guys, I'm a high school teacher, right? And I'm crazy too, man. But I walked in, I was like, guess what, y'all? Because he put my name on the back. He was like, because I did like a little review on the back. I was like, y'all, guess what? Look at me. And I showed them that book, man. The kids ran out the seats to snatch Jeremiah's book out my hand. And we were getting ready to start. I was like, hold up, y'all, back up, hold up, social, But we stopped. I stopped my lesson and took a picture in the middle of the class and send it to Jeremiah. And that goes to show you, like, you never know who you're impacting. So you got to use your voice. You got to embrace your uniqueness, because it's people all over that are waiting on your gift to offer to the world. And that goes to my next slide. Oh, and then, okay, all right, I'm getting ahead of myself, because I didn't even talk about the TEDx thing, whatever. But I put a couple of reasons why you should write your book, because as Jeremiah was saying, I do consulting on the side. And when my book came out, I mean, this was before the pandemic. I was really, what I did to finish my book, because people ask, well, how was that process like? Before the book came out, I was already booking speaking engagements, right? So how that worked is I would call a conference or an event or something for like youth or scholarships or churches. And I would say, hey, I have this book coming out in 6 months. I would love to come speak at your event in the near future. And then I would already get a date on the calendar, give me 5-10 minutes to promote. And so they would then, what that did was, after we would secure the date, the book wasn't finished, right? So I had to hurry up and finish the book, because I hadn't already agreed to come in to speak, and I had to have those books ready to sell. And that's when I learned. I'm gonna skip down to number, so you have opportunity. So I'm gonna skip down number 4 and 5 on this 5 reasons why you should write a book. So when the weekend that the book came out, I spoke at a conference, right? That was the first time in my entire life when I started learning about trading time for money. That's what a lot of people, like in the rat race right now, in the 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out, you have to go to a job every day, clock in, commit to 40 hours a week, clock out. And in order for you to get paid, you have to trade your time, right? In order to and then they basically tell you, I think you're worth X, Y, and Z. Look, I understand. So every entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Starting a business, writing a book, whatever. And that's okay, because we need doctors, lawyers, scientists, all that. But I always encourage having ownership in something, or some type of product or service that you offer, some type of side hustle. And I sold in 1 hour, 130 books. Now, how much was I selling those books for? 20, 15, something like that. So I was like, whoa. And I didn't have to work 40 hours. That was the first time where I learned that I could still make money, still use my gift, get paid from it, and it not have to feel like an actual job. Then I would start traveling some more, and I was like, wait a minute. Because I would always travel by myself. Everybody would say, hey, I said, let me come with you, whatever. But then, when people come, they want to get paid. They see them books selling, and they want to, they try to help you out and all that. But I learned I would sell my books myself, create my own marketing materials, go on Fiverr, get stuff made, travel by myself, set up stuff by myself. And then, at the end of the day, because I wanted to learn how to do everything, right? And going to the next slide, flexibility in the future of entrepreneurship. Jeremiah, am I running over? Hold on. Am I good? How much time I got?
You probably got about 5 to 7 minutes. I'll say
5 to 7. Okay, thank you. All right. So what is this? Talent. Okay, talents versus gifts. When you as William said, if you have to lose yourself to find yourself. I did not know that Deshaun was going to say his sermon this morning was something about you got to get lost, right? And a lot of times when gifts are so important, right? Gifts are what you're born with. Talent are the skills. Like nobody is born with the gift on how to be a barber or a electrician, right? Some things you have to go to school, get a trade, learn how to do. You become talented at it. But then you have singers like, I don't know, Whitney Houston. Okay, that chick had a gift. All right, she could go on because that's what you're born with. And so the reality is all of us have gifts, right? And a lot of times what you see is people the older that they get, the less and less they tend to dream and use their imagination and operate in their gift, right? When you're young and you're a child, you're ambitious. When you're young, you just believe that the world is yours. You can have it all. You can have anything you want. Your imagination is just like all over the place. And these guys like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, other people, Mark Zuckerberg, they're operating in their gifts, like their imagination. They're getting it done. Because a lot of times most people, they get older, they get sucked into the 9-to-5 mentality, go to school, get a degree, get a good job. Whereas, looking within the bullet point number 2, everybody has a gift, but sometimes everybody doesn't recognize it. And a lot of what I found is sometimes people struggle financially is because they don't always use their gift, right? So entrepreneur, don't confuse a gift with talent. Anyone can learn a talent, but a gift is something that you're born with. I don't know if you can see this picture to the right. I didn't even talk about how I was able to do a TEDx talk. But when my book came out, I always wanted to do like a TEDx. One of my good friends did one, and I really didn't know the process of it. But I was just saying to myself, I really want to share my story, be on that type of platform. And it's hard to see like a lot of us on environments like that. And I came across this list online, right? Because you have people that sell services where they say, well, I'll book a TEDx talk for you, but you got to pay me $5,000. Guys, in the digital age, some things I'm not saying you don't pay people. But thank you, Deshaun. I appreciate that. I think you should charge people, if they have a service, you should pay them. But at the same time, the benefit about this is use the information age, the digital age to your advantage. I went online and found venues and opportunities that were looking for TEDx speakers. They didn't call me. They invited me. I invited myself. I never forget the guy I talked to when we were on the phone, and I said, look, I see that you have a call for speakers. I have a book. I have a story that I think I would want to share. And this particular event was at a high school in San Francisco. And I kid you not, that was my first time going to California. I was the only one in the room that looked like this, right? And speaking of your gifts, people always tell me all the time, you got a public speaking ability or whatever. Before this, I was nervous. Like you guys probably can't tell it. I was like, man, why Jeremiah even got me up here? I don't even be doing talking and videos and stuff like that. But what people don't know, I mean, you can check it out on YouTube, but I talked about awakening the gift within. My main audience was high school students, roughly like 150 students. And I was explaining to them, before you go to college and get a degree, try to identify what your gift is. And I kid you not, I did that entire TEDx talk off the top of my head. I didn't really know what I was going to talk about until I got on stage, like just as nervous as all get out. Cause I'm not gonna lie, like I'm just telling myself, I don't really like preparing for presentations and stuff, because when you kind of like, you get called on at a young age, do this, do that, especially, I don't know if anybody grew up in church or whatever, they be trying to put you on the spot. Now you put me on the spot now, I'm gonna just sit and look at you. But you just had to be quick on the hip, get up and read this scripture and all that. And so I was just so used to like being quick on the hip and having whenever I had to speak, but the entire talk I was able to do off the top of my head, which is so cool. And from my understanding, like that TEDx talk has impacted a lot of people because I was touching on that, the importance of that gift aspect. And that's my thing, not going to the next one. Oh, and yeah, so I'm gonna stop right here, right? I think I got ahead of myself a little bit. But I really appreciate you guys for inviting me, Jeremiah, everybody that listened to this, being able to close this out was such an honor. Guys, I want to I don't know if I have time or how we want to do this because I know we have a panel, but I want to offer a free 15-minute consultation session for anybody that wants to write a book or interested in the process. So if you would like, you can private message me your email, and I'll send you my contact information. Thank you, and I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. This is amazing. And Isaiah, again, like, bro, like, even though you may be afraid to like speak, you did a phenomenal job, bro. And I appreciate, just breaking down, the flexibility and future of entrepreneurship as it pertains to, balancing that life of how you can still either be in your career, either going to school and still having something on the side. And it's important to, bring that gift to life. And I know we all talked about when I brought you guys on before we let the guests in, we talked about manifesting your gift and how that's important, because at the end of the day, what you like, your value comes, with your gift, and you get paid in this world by manifesting your gift, by, providing value behind it. And I want to thank you again for just, emphasizing that and echoing all the speakers and closing this out, bro. Like that was phenomenal. I'm grateful for each of my speakers coming on today, and it's phenomenal. So guys, we're gonna jump right into the panel. Isaiah, if you can unshare your screen, I just want to see everyone's beautiful faces so we can just look at everyone. And yeah, we're just gonna jump right into the panel, and then after that, we're gonna close and everyone get a chance to ask some questions to our speakers. And these can be any type of questions you want to ask as it pertains to anything that they discussed this morning. So the first question, and my speakers, either you can go first, but the first question is, what was something new you learned about yourself when creating your brand? What was something new you learned about yourself when creating your brand? So we can go in order so we can have structure and order. I'm really big on structure and order. So Deshaun, if you want to go first, please share. What was something new you learned about yourself when creating your brand?
Yeah, good question. I would say when creating my brand, something I learned that I didn't have patience. I mean, patience is so important. I mean, I grew up, we grew up in a generation where it's like what I call the microwave generation, where we just want everything quick. We don't like oven stuff. We don't like stuff to marinate. I remember growing up, my grandma would cook in a crock pot. And I hated when she cooked crock pot stuff because the crock pot tastes forever. But I had to learn to be more patient. So I believe in, as any of you guys are going on your entrepreneurship journey, that, you're going to have seasons where you think, oh, I want to give up, or is it going to happen? Stick in there. That's all I can say. Stick in there. Keep dreaming. As I would say, don't drop the dream. Have patience. There's power in patience. So most definitely have patience. But that's for me personally. I've learned that I didn't have patience. I had to exercise patience along my journey, which helped me to get where I am today. So I say patience is one of them.
Thank you for sharing this, Sean. Natalie?
I think one thing I learned about myself was what I mentioned in my presentation, confidence. I think through trying to build my own business, I realized I had issues and struggled with really embracing myself and having confidence in who I am and all that I was created to do and my gifts. It really showed up strong when I was trying to pitch myself and inserting myself into spaces in my industry. But I think even more than that, things I already knew about myself were just there, but like exacerbated. Like I knew I was a procrastinator, but it really bit me in the butt when I started my business. So it was more so things that I knew were my own tendencies. But then when I started my business, I was like, okay, this is like something I need to work on.
Thank you for sharing, Natalie. Ariel? We have to call. Isaiah, you want to chime in? You can come back to Ariel.
Give me the question one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what was something new you learned about yourself when creating your brand?
That your brand is not for everybody, and you got to find who your market is. A lot of times we get disappointed when people don't support us because of whatever the reason, but you know, you're not like they used to say, you may not be anointed for everybody. So you just got to find like who your target market is, who your message is for. And when you can, and it may not be a large amount of people, but when you can get those like loyal number of followers that you're serving and impacting, like it's a lot of learning in that.
Thank you for sharing, Isaiah. Ariel?
Yes, pardon me.
You're good, you're good.
Myself, y'all. Was there something posed? Because I was not.
Oh yeah, I forgot, you texted me. So the question was, what was something new you learned about yourself when creating your brand?
How? What is something new? You know, I think I also realized, as extroverted as I am, like total extrovert, there are certain things that you also keep personal, especially when it comes to your brand. And I think I love to share, and I tend to overshare. So I have certain friends who are like, all right, sis, maybe want to hold that back. And I'm like, wait, but it's my testimony and I need to share. And they're like, no. And, you know, I'm very grateful for like my people in my corner who are like, look, sometimes you may not want to share the story while you're still in the story. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? I could encourage someone else. And it's like, well, you know, so I mean, I got their perspective because they're like, you want to have a happy ending, or like, here's the result. Like, yes, I went through X, Y, and Z, but like, I wasn't there yet. So understanding certain things to be, you know, personal and private, and not to always overshare, but I love to be extroverted. You could still give yourself and be authentic without having to give a lot of your personal life. And I see my sis Natalie nodding her head. So like, I know she's there with me.
Yeah, I'll have to echo that, definitely, because I used to have a hard time in like the certain environments I would be in. Like I would literally be out with, we could be at like a trampoline place, and I'm like, hey, you have to just have faith. Like you got this, you know. And it was just like, bro, like calm down. Like we're trying to jump right now. We're trying to enjoy our time right now. Like I get it. You're, you know, really passionate about telling your story, but like let's just enjoy this moment we have, because at the end of the day, you have to appreciate the moments that you're in. So I can tend to overshare a lot. So I had to echo that, definitely. I received a direct question, and the question is, what are some of the things you all look for when working with graphic designers and creatives? Are there specific qualities or work samples that you prefer to see when finding talent? So what are some of the things you all are looking for when working with graphic designers and creatives? Are there specific qualities or work samples that you prefer to see when finding talent? And you guys can chime in, either speakers can chime in.
I can take a stab at this one. I do a lot of subcontracting for both of my companies. And I hire people who do graphics, manage social media. And I think a few of the things, I always ask for like a portfolio to review their past work to make sure they have the ability to match the style that I'd like created for my brand. But I think in general, one thing Ariel talked a lot about was like defining your brand's core values. I think you should always work with people who match up with the core values of your organization and your brand, because what they're carrying, if they're working on your product, is going to translate into the deliverable. So just making sure they fit well. If they're going to be working with your team, I make sure like their personality meshes well with the people on my team. I look at things like their response time, if they're professional when I'm connecting with them. Things like that matter a lot.
I want to definitely echo on that, and ensuring that you really see the reviews. Let me tell y'all. Oh my goodness, I got stories. These people are using other pages, okay? Like they're literally copy pasting or screenshotting someone else's work and like, oh yeah, we could provide this for you, but then they can't deliver. So like be mindful of one, reviews, and then two, ensuring that these people could really follow through. And I like what Natalie said about the response time, because they may be able to like really follow through with the design, but the timing may just be off, and you want to be timely and relevant.
I definitely look for the price. Like a lot of times when you need creatives to do certain work, because like if a market is very saturated, they'll try to up the price, kind of what everybody else was saying, and charge two to 4,000, whatever, something outrageous to do a website for you. When there have been times where I've gone on YouTube, sat down, looked at a 1-hour tutorial, and what I was getting ready to pay somebody a couple of $1,000s, I was able to knock out in 45 minutes, and it wasn't as hard or as difficult as I thought. And a lot of times I'll find that when you tell people like what your mission is, some people will just support you. Like with Jeremiah, when he was telling me he wanted to write a book, it was just no questions asked. I just wanted to, support him because I saw like he had a plan and he had a goal and mindset. And I think when people see that, you'll start attracting people to work with you in partnerships, and it just comes easy.
And I really just kind of what everyone said, you guys kind of hit every corner of it. I just look for professionalism. Typically what I do is I try to find the closest example of what I want the desired end of the graphic to look like. And I will send it over to the graphic because I love Fiverr. Fiverr is one of my best friends, but I'll typically send it over, and if they're, if I could see, they say they can fulfill the assignment, it's something they can do. And I've seen some previous work that kind of look in that style. That's just typically, what I do. But going back to what everyone else said, professionalism, respond time, all the same things I look for.
So mission, core values, and pricing. And Isaiah, I definitely know for the pricing, you didn't charge me a dime. You just believed it. You believed in the mission.
Doing that like that.
I'm like, man, Isaiah could have racked up a lot of money from me.
I did say if you blow up on Ellen DeGeneres, don't forget about me. I did tell you that. So
yeah, I know. Wow, that's so mission, core values, and pricing were the three things that a lot of people are looking for. All right, guys, I have one more question and then we're going to close. So what does it mean to you to move in your purpose? So we talked about, the meaning of like, you got this summit. What does it mean to continue to move in your purpose?
I guess.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The bishop needs to go first.
No, but no, I was gonna say, can you repeat the question one more time? I want to make sure.
What does it mean to move in your purpose? If we're at the You Got This conference, what does it mean? What does it mean to continue to persevere throughout the rest of the year?
I would say to move into your purpose, set goals. Always, I'm a Bible guy. Keep God first in all that you do. Continue to always pray, consult with God. And I believe everyone on this call can soar, really, to be honest with you. Just, I'm going to keep God first, seek him first, and I promise you, you'll get those results. I was speaking the other day, Jeremiah, you were there, and I was telling people that sometimes most of us, we want Bible results, but we don't want to do Bible pattern or Bible principle. And so in order for us to get the Bible result, we have to do Bible pattern. And so, we all want these nice businesses. We want to be crisscrossing all over the country, speaking and, selling our books all over the world and doing all these amazing major things. But in order to get those Bible results, we got to do Bible pattern. And one of the most important Bible patterns or Bible principles you can do is seek God first. So if I can give you any advice of following purpose, seek God first in your business, in every area of your life. And I promise you'll get Bible results and it'll blow your mind. What God can do will blow outside of any of this, the practical stuff we can do, what God can do, through the supernatural. So I pray you all will take heed to that and put him first, and you can soar, man.
Thank you, Deshaun.
I love that insight. I think also what I would add about, following your purpose, oftentimes people associate your purpose with like one single end goal. Like, I'm not living in my purpose until I have all these things, X, Y, and Z, until I've made this much money, until I have this many businesses, or I've accomplished these goals. But really, like, you're living in your purpose every single day. What is instilled in you is instilled in you now. And I think the way we live out our purpose changes in different seasons of life. Right now, part of how I live out my purpose is as a business owner, but previously part of how I was living out my purpose was working with that nonprofit that I was so passionate about. But I think it's just about bringing what's your natural talents, gifts, passions, and cares to what's in front of you in the best way that you can. And in that way, I think you're honoring your purpose and what you're meant to do on this earth.
I would add, like, it's always good for me to have people, as it relates to purpose, that, like you mentioned something earlier about Dr. Miles Monroe and having different voices in your life, people who have already lived in their purpose or walking out in their purpose. You kind of reach out to them and just seek advice or listen to some of their stories. Like I was saying earlier, in this digital age, is so much access to resources. Like, people literally have no excuse to, you can't even have an excuse anymore that I don't have a mentor, because somebody may not physically be able to one-on-one walk with you, but there's so much content available that you can just pull from and apply to your life. And purpose, every day, just be intentional, live your life with purpose, realize time is a gift, and you'll be on your way.
I would like to harp on what everyone else said. And especially, I keep tagging with my sis over here, just understanding how every season calls for a different way for you to operate and who and what you're supposed to operate in. But the purpose will remain the same. It's always the same mission. Well, rather, it's the same vision all the time, but it may be a different mission that you're called to. And that's so important. And one thing I really want to echo, and it's not my life verse, because my life verse would be found in James chapter 1, which talks about like considering it pure joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, and then letting patience have her perfect work. And I want to mention this because you will encounter struggles. You will encounter places where there will be obstacles and it won't be easy. And it's important to have a strong foundation. What is your core? And yes, you can figure out all these activities by doing your core values and trying to mix and match, but at the core of who we are, identity is, well, as a believer, our identity is found in Christ. And so understanding Christ's identity to understand who you are and what you're called to will lead you to your purpose. But the verse that I really wanted to mention here, I don't remember where it's found, but I always remember it says, bad company corrupts good character. And if there's any time that I look to my friends to the left and my right, I have my friend here, Keyshawn, who's here too, my bro. Those are people to hold me accountable. And if I'm falling left or right in an area that I shouldn't, they're here to harp in my ear like, hey, sis, this may not be the right direction. It may look like a good opportunity, but as is always said, and not every good opportunity is a God opportunity. And so we're also always told we're the culmination of the 5 people around us that we hang around with the most. Who are those 5? What are those 5 doing? Are we attached to those 5 because of the longevity of time that we've been with them, and not essentially the essence of who they are and what they provide? Do they even provide anything? Oftentimes the worst could corrupt the good even quicker. So although we may want to influence other people, we have that ability to influence, but we need to be mindful of who's in our inner circle. And a prophet that I have close to me, Garel Solomon, he's like a father, spiritual father. He told me, Ari, it's important to guard yourself. The Bible says to guard your heart, but a lot of people in the society, they're like, oh, let your guards down, you have your guards up. But the thing is, a castle, a fortress, a guard is meant so that good could stay in and bad could be kept out. So be mindful of those things. And this will lead you to your purpose and keep you fortified in that purpose that you're called to, whatever season that you're in. So that's what I would have to say about that. And thank you again.
Woo! Wow. And that's a way that you close the You Got This Summit. Woo! I want to thank each one of you, from the speakers to everyone that took the time out of their day, this 2 hours out of their day, to receive this wonderful message from these 4 phenomenal speakers who are doing wonderful and amazing things. So please, guys, connect with them, network with them. This is how you grow community, as we've been talking about as the foundation. This is how you connect and build with people that are in, spaces that you want to tap into. So I'm grateful enough to be the host, be the leader for this summit. And this has been amazing. I thank each of you as we close today. Continue to press on throughout the rest of your year, throughout the rest of your day. And remember, you got this, you got this. And I know it. I'm inspired by each of you to tackle everything that you want out of life, because it is God ordained for you to accomplish everything that you want. So amazing week, amazing day. Blessings into all of you. And thank you so much for attending the You Got This Summit.
Woo!